The morning sun cast long shadows across the Camp Pendleton firing range as Sarah Martinez stepped out of the government sedan. The salty Pacific breeze carried the distant sound of gunfire from the training grounds, mixing with the sharp commands of drill instructors echoing across the base. At 28, Sarah looked more like a college professor than someone who belonged among the elite warriors of SEAL Team 7. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her civilian clothes stood out starkly against the camouflage uniforms surrounding her. Commander Jake Morrison watched through his office window as the woman approached the range building. He had received the call from the Pentagon 3 days earlier, and he still couldn't believe what he had been told. The Department of Defense wanted to test some civilian contractor against his best operators. It was insulting, really. His men had earned their place through years of grueling training, combat deployments, and proven performance under the most extreme conditions imaginable. "Sir, the contractor is here," announced Petty Officer Williams, poking his head through the office door. Morrison straightened his uniform and walked toward the range. His team was already assembled, 8 of the finest marksmen the Navy had to offer. They had been briefing for a special reconnaissance mission when this unexpected interruption arrived. Master Chief Rodriguez, the team's senior enlisted advisor, stood with arms crossed, his weathered face showing clear skepticism about the morning's events. Sarah approached the group, her footsteps confident despite the obvious tension in the air. She carried a single hard case and wore simple shooting glasses around her neck. The SEALs barely looked in her direction, continuing their conversation about weapon modifications and ammunition choices. "Gentlemen," Morrison announced, his voice cutting through the morning air, "this is Sarah Martinez. The Pentagon has requested that we conduct a marksmanship evaluation." The team members exchanged glances. Seaman Johnson, barely 22 and the newest member of the squad, snickered quietly. "What's next, sir? Are we going to test kindergartners, too?" Sarah remained silent, setting her case down carefully on the nearby table. She understood their reaction. She had faced similar skepticism throughout her career, first as a woman in competitive shooting, then as a civilian working in military circles. The doubt was nothing new, but it never stopped stinging. Master Chief Rodriguez stepped forward, his tone professional but cold. "Ma'am, what's your background? Have you worked with military weapons before?" "Some," Sarah replied simply, not offering additional details. Lieutenant Thompson, a sniper with 3 combat tours, shook his head. "This is a waste of time, Commander. We have a mission to prepare for, and we're standing around waiting to babysit some contractor who probably learned to shoot at a weekend course." Sarah began unpacking her equipment while the team continued their discussion. From her case, she removed a modified Remington 700 rifle, carefully checking the scope and action. The weapon showed signs of extensive use, but was immaculately maintained. Several SEALs glanced over, noting the quality of her equipment, though their expressions remained skeptical. The range master approached with a clipboard, reviewing the day's shooting protocol. "We'll start with standard qualification courses," he announced. 500 yards, 10 rounds, standing and prone positions. Then we'll move to longer distances if needed." "If needed," Johnson muttered under his breath, earning quiet laughter from 2 other team members. Sarah finished her preparation and moved to the firing line. She wore simple jeans and a navy blue polo shirt, looking completely out of place among the tactical gear and precision equipment surrounding her. Her rifle, while high quality, appeared basic compared to the advanced weapon systems the SEALs carried. Morrison called the line to order. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start with Petty Officer Johnson. Standard 500-yard qualification, 10 rounds prone." Johnson moved to position 1, settling behind his weapon with practiced efficiency. His rifle was a customized Mark 13, fitted with advanced optics and every modification the Navy's budget allowed. He controlled his breathing, found his natural point of aim, and began engaging targets. The electronic scoring system displayed his results in real time. 9 out of 10 shots landed in the bullseye, with one shot just outside the center ring. It was an excellent score by any standard, the kind of performance that qualified operators for special missions. 93%, announced the range master. Several team members nodded approvingly. Lieutenant Thompson followed, achieving similar results with his own modified weapon system. The scores continued as each SEAL took their turn, ranging from 88 to 95% accuracy. Master Chief Rodriguez achieved the highest score of the morning, placing 10 shots within a grouping that could be covered by a quarter. "Impressive shooting, Master Chief," Morrison acknowledged. The commander felt confident in his team's performance. These scores would be difficult for anyone to match, let alone exceed. Finally, Sarah's turn arrived. She moved to the firing line without fanfare, settling into position with smooth, efficient movements. Several SEALs gathered behind her to observe, their expressions ranging from curious to openly dismissive. "Ma'am, are you familiar with the scoring system?" asked the range master, his tone patronizing. "Yes, thank you," Sarah replied, adjusting her rifle position slightly. She took 3 slow, measured breaths, then settled into her shooting stance. The range fell quiet except for the distant sound of training elsewhere on the base. Even the skeptical SEALs stopped talking, professional courtesy demanding silence during live fire. Sarah's first shot cracked across the range. The electronic target immediately displayed the result, a perfect center hit. Several eyebrows raised among the observers, though they remained largely unimpressed. One good shot could be luck. Her second shot followed quickly, landing in nearly the identical location, then the third, fourth, and fifth. Each bullet hole appeared almost on top of the previous ones, creating a tight cluster in the very center of the target. The casual conversation among the SEALs gradually died away. By the 7th shot, complete silence surrounded the firing line. These weren't just good shots. They were exhibiting precision that exceeded anything the team had achieved that morning. Sarah fired her final 3 rounds with the same methodical pace, never rushing, never hesitating. When the 10th shot echoed across the range, the electronic scoring system displayed a result that made several operators do double takes. 100% accuracy with a grouping that measured less than 2 inches at 500 yards. "System malfunction," Johnson declared immediately. "Has to be. No way someone shoots that well on their first try here." The range master walked down range to physically inspect the target, his binoculars revealing what the electronic system had already confirmed. 10 holes, so close together they almost formed a single ragged opening in the exact center of the bullseye. Master Chief Rodriguez stepped closer to Sarah's position, studying her rifle and equipment with new interest. The weapon was indeed well maintained, but it lacked many of the advanced features the SEALs considered essential for precision shooting. "What's your background, ma'am?" he asked again, this time with genuine respect in his voice. Sarah stood up from her firing position, setting her rifle carefully on its bipod. "I started competing when I was 12. College rifle team, then national competitions." "And now?" Morrison inquired, his skepticism beginning to fade. "I work for the government. Testing and evaluation." Lieutenant Thompson moved closer to examine her target through high-powered binoculars. The evidence was undeniable, but it challenged everything he thought he knew about shooting. "What kind of testing?" "Weapon systems, training programs, sometimes personnel evaluation." The implications of her words began to sink in among the team members. This wasn't a random civilian brought in for comparison. This was someone the Pentagon sent specifically to measure their capabilities. Morrison checked his watch, calculating the time remaining for their training session. "Let's move to the 1,000-yard line," he announced. "See how everyone performs at extended range." The team moved to the longer-distance firing points, where targets appeared as small dots in powerful scopes. This was the range where SEAL snipers proved their worth, where the slightest error in calculation or technique resulted in complete misses. Johnson volunteered to shoot first again, eager to redeem himself after Sarah's unexpected performance. He took his time calculating wind speed, atmospheric pressure, and temperature effects on his bullet's trajectory. His first shot landed just outside the bullseye, a respectable result considering the distance. "Adjust 2 clicks right," Rodriguez advised quietly, and Johnson made the scope correction. His next 4 shots grouped tightly in the target's center, though one shot strayed slightly due to a wind gust. Each team member took their turn at the challenging distance, achieving varying degrees of success. The wind had picked up, making precise shooting significantly more difficult. Even Master Chief Rodriguez, with his decades of experience, managed only 7 shots in the center ring out of 10 attempts. When Sarah's turn arrived, she spent several minutes observing wind flags and noting atmospheric conditions. She made small adjustments to her scope, then settled into position behind her rifle. Her first shot at 1,000 yards landed dead center. The second shot landed so close to the first that observers needed binoculars to confirm there were actually 2 separate holes. By her 5th shot, the SEALs had stopped making comments and started taking notes. "Range conditions are getting worse," Thompson observed, noting how flags showed gusting crosswinds that hadn't been present earlier. Sarah seemed oblivious to the challenging conditions. Her shots continued landing in the same precise location, building a grouping that defied the laws of physics and probability. When her 10th and final shot echoed across the range, the silence stretched for long seconds. "Perfect score," announced the range master, his voice carrying a note of disbelief. 10 for 10, grouping measures under 3 inches. Morrison felt his worldview shifting. He had commanded SEALs for over 15 years, worked with the finest marksmen the military produced, and witnessed shooting that bordered on the impossible. But this civilian woman had just outperformed his entire team with equipment that cost a fraction of their advanced weapons systems. "Ma'am," Master Chief Rodriguez said formally, "might I examine your rifle?" Sarah nodded, stepping back from her weapon. Rodriguez approached with the reverence typically reserved for examining historical artifacts. He studied the scope, action, and trigger system, finding quality components, but nothing that explained the extraordinary accuracy he had just witnessed. "It's a nice rifle," he admitted, "but there's nothing here that should give you an advantage over our systems." "The equipment is only part of the equation," Sarah replied quietly. Johnson remained skeptical despite the evidence before his eyes. "Maybe the electronic targets are malfunctioning, or maybe there's something we don't know about our ammunition." Thompson volunteered to verify the scoring system by firing several shots with his own rifle. His results matched the electronic display exactly, confirming the system's accuracy. Sarah's ammunition, when examined, proved to be standard match-grade bullets available to any competitive shooter. Morrison realized that his mission briefing would need significant revision. His team's confidence, built through years of successful operations, had been shaken by 10 minutes of civilian shooting. More importantly, he was beginning to understand that this evaluation served a purpose beyond simple comparison. "What exactly does the Pentagon want from this exercise?" he asked Sarah directly. "I'm here to assess whether your team is ready for a specific type of operation," she replied. "Long-range precision work in challenging conditions." The mission Morrison had been briefed on suddenly took on new significance. His team had been selected for a reconnaissance operation requiring extremely accurate shooting at extended ranges. The Pentagon obviously had concerns about their capabilities, concerns that this morning's demonstration had unfortunately validated. "How long have you been doing this kind of evaluation?" Rodriguez inquired. 7 years. Different units, different branches. The requirements keep getting more demanding." Morrison felt a chill as he realized the implications. Military operations were evolving, requiring capabilities that exceeded traditional training standards. His team, among the best the Navy could field, had apparently fallen short of these new requirements. The morning session concluded with equipment cleanup and target verification. Sarah packed her rifle with the same quiet efficiency she had displayed throughout the exercise, seemingly unaffected by the drama her performance had created. As the SEALs gathered their gear, conversations were subdued and thoughtful. Each man was processing what they had witnessed, trying to reconcile their professional pride with the undeniable evidence of superior skill. "Ma'am," Morrison approached Sarah as she prepared to leave, "will you be joining us for the afternoon session?" "If you'd like me to continue the evaluation, yes, sir." Morrison considered his options. His team needed to understand what they had experienced, and he suspected that Sarah Martinez represented capabilities they needed to develop rather than simply acknowledge. "Report back at 1300 hours, he decided. "We'll run advanced scenarios." As Sarah walked back toward her sedan, the SEALs watched in silence. The woman who had looked so out of place that morning now carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had proven her point without needing to boast about it. Master Chief Rodriguez voiced what everyone was thinking. "Gentlemen, we have work to do." The afternoon would bring new challenges, and the team was beginning to realize that their morning lesson was only the beginning of a very humbling experience. The afternoon sun blazed overhead as Sarah returned to Camp Pendleton precisely at 1300 hours. The SEAL team had spent their lunch break in unusual quiet, each man processing the morning's events differently. Some attributed her performance to luck or favorable conditions, while others began questioning their own abilities and training. Commander Morrison had used the break to make several phone calls to Pentagon contacts, seeking clarification about Sarah's background and the true purpose of her evaluation. The conversations revealed little beyond confirmation that she represented the highest levels of government interest in his team's capabilities. Master Chief Rodriguez had spent the time researching civilian marksmanship records, discovering that Sarah Martinez held several national championships and had set records that stood unbroken for years. Her competition history explained her technical skills, but didn't account for the tactical awareness she had displayed. The team assembled at a different range complex, one designed for advanced combat scenarios rather than static target shooting. Moving targets, elevated positions, and environmental obstacles created challenges that more closely resembled operational conditions. "This afternoon we'll run situational exercises," Morrison announced as Sarah rejoined the group. "Moving targets, time pressure, and tactical decision-making. These scenarios replicate conditions you might encounter during actual operations." Sarah nodded, retrieving her rifle from the sedan. She had changed into more practical clothing: tan cargo pants, hiking boots, and a long-sleeved shirt that would provide protection from the sun and rough terrain. Lieutenant Thompson studied the course layout, noting the complexity of the afternoon's challenges. "Ma'am, have you worked scenarios like this before? It's significantly different from static shooting?" "Some," Sarah replied with the same brevity that had characterized her morning responses. The course stretched across nearly 2 miles of varied terrain. Shooting positions ranged from elevated towers to prone positions behind cover, with targets appearing at ranges from 300 to 1,500 yards. Each station required different skills: rapid engagement, precision shooting under time pressure, and target identification among civilians. Seaman Johnson volunteered to demonstrate the course first, still hoping to redeem his earlier performance. He approached the starting line with his advanced rifle system and full tactical gear, looking every inch the special operations professional he had trained to become. The timer started, and Johnson moved efficiently through the first station. 3 targets at varying distances required engagement within 90 seconds. His shots were accurate and fast, placing round center mass on each target within the time limit. Station 2 proved more challenging. A single target at 800 yards appeared for only 30 seconds, requiring rapid range estimation and precise shooting. Johnson's first shot missed narrowly, victim to hasty calculations. His second shot connected solidly, earning partial credit for the station. As the course progressed, each station demanded different skills. Johnson performed well overall, demonstrating the competence expected of a SEAL operator. His final score placed him in the upper tier of qualification standards, a result that would normally generate congratulations and confidence. Lieutenant Thompson followed with his own run through the course, benefiting from observing Johnson's performance. He adjusted his approach at several stations, achieving slightly better results, but still missing several of the more challenging shots. Each team member completed the course, with Master Chief Rodriguez achieving the highest score. His decades of experience showed in his tactical movement and target engagement decisions, though even he struggled with some of the longer-range precision shots under time pressure. When Sarah's turn arrived, the team gathered to observe her performance with considerably more attention than they had given each other. Her morning demonstration had earned their respect, but combat scenarios demanded skills beyond pure marksmanship. She approached the starting line carrying only her rifle and a small rangefinder, eschewing the tactical gear and advanced equipment the SEALs considered essential. Her preparation was minimal, a quick check of wind conditions and a brief study of the course layout. The timer started, and Sarah began moving toward the first station with a fluid efficiency that surprised the observers. She covered ground quickly but never appeared rushed, reaching the first firing position ahead of the schedule most operators maintained. Her first 3 targets fell in rapid succession, each shot placed with surgical precision despite the time pressure. She moved immediately toward Station 2, where the brief target exposure had challenged every previous shooter. The target appeared at 800 yards, beginning its 30-second exposure window. Sarah's rangefinder flashed once. She made a quick scope adjustment and fired within 15 seconds of the target's appearance. The hit was perfect center mass. "Impossible," Johnson muttered, checking his watch. She didn't have time to properly range and calculate. Station 3 required shooting from an elevated platform at moving targets. This scenario tested the shooter's ability to lead moving targets while compensating for the awkward shooting position. Sarah climbed the tower quickly, settled into position, and began engaging targets that moved across her field of view at varying speeds and distances. Her first shot dropped a target at 400 yards, moving at a fast walk. The second target, running at 600 yards, fell to her next round. A third target, moving erratically at varying speeds, required her to hold briefly before firing, timing the shot perfectly to intercept the target's path. Master Chief Rodriguez watched through binoculars, calling out her hits. "Center mass on all 3 moving targets," he announced, his voice carrying a note of amazement. The course continued with increasingly complex challenges. Station 4 presented target identification scenarios, where Sarah had to distinguish between hostile and civilian targets before engaging. Her decision-making was flawless, engaging threats while avoiding civilian casualties that would have resulted in automatic course failure. At Station 5, environmental conditions created the most challenging shooting scenario. A crosswind gusting to 20 knots affected bullet trajectory at targets ranging from 600 to 1,200 yards. Previous shooters had struggled with the wind calls, often missing their first shots and requiring corrections. Sarah observed the wind flags for nearly 30 seconds, then engaged all 4 targets in rapid succession. Each shot accounted perfectly for wind drift, landing center mass despite the challenging conditions. "She's reading that wind like she grew up here," Thompson observed, studying the flags that continued to shift and gust unpredictably. The final station required precision shooting at the maximum range of 1,500 yards. A single target, smaller than previous challenges, demanded perfect calculation of all environmental factors. Time pressure was minimal, but the technical demands exceeded anything most operators encountered in training. Sarah took her time at this station, spending several minutes observing conditions and calculating her shot. When she finally settled behind her rifle, the range fell completely silent. Even the drill instructors at distant training areas seemed to pause their activities. Her shot rang out across the base, echoing off distant buildings before fading into silence. 1,500 yards downrange, the target registered a perfect center hit. The final buzzer sounded, marking the completion of Sarah's run through the combat course. Her time was faster than any team member had achieved, while her accuracy score was literally perfect. No missed targets, no civilian casualties, no time penalties. Morrison struggled to process what he had witnessed. "What's your final score?" he asked the range master. "Perfect. 100% accuracy, completion time 37 minutes. The course record was 42 minutes with an 85% hit rate." The SEALs stood in stunned silence, trying to reconcile their professional training with the performance they had observed. Sarah packed her equipment with the same quiet efficiency she had displayed all day, seemingly unaware of the impact her demonstration had created. "Ma'am?" Master Chief Rodriguez approached her directly. "I need to ask you something. What branch did you serve with?" "I haven't served," Sarah replied simply. "Then where did you learn tactical movement and target identification?" "Training courses. Practice. Some of the same instructors who work with military units." Johnson shook his head in disbelief. "This doesn't make sense. You're shooting better than special operations snipers with years of training and combat experience." Sarah finished packing her rifle and looked up at the assembled team. For the first time that day, she offered more than minimal responses to their questions. "You're all excellent shooters," she began. "Your equipment is superior to mine, your training is comprehensive, and your experience in actual operations gives you advantages I don't possess. But you've been training to meet minimum standards rather than maximum potential." Morrison stepped forward, recognizing an opportunity to understand what they were really facing. "What do you mean by maximum potential?" "Your qualification courses are designed to ensure competency, not excellence. You practice until you meet the standard, then move on to other skills. I practice to see how good I can actually become." Lieutenant Thompson considered her words. "But we train constantly. Shooting is a primary skill for our missions." "You train constantly at many skills," Sarah agreed. "I train almost exclusively at one skill. There's a difference." Master Chief Rodriguez nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "You're a specialist. We're generalists who need to be competent at everything." "Exactly. You need to be able to shoot, move, communicate, navigate, plan operations, and work as a team. I need to be able to shoot better than anyone you might face in the field." The revelation put the day's events in perspective. Sarah wasn't competing against the SEALs as soldiers. She was demonstrating a level of specialized skill they had never encountered. Morrison realized the implications for his team's upcoming mission. "The Pentagon sent you here because our operation requires skills beyond standard SEAL capabilities. Your mission involves target elimination at extended ranges in challenging conditions," Sarah confirmed. "The targets will have protection from personnel who are also highly trained. Standard military marksmanship won't be sufficient." "And you're here to what, exactly?" Johnson asked. "Train us? Join the team?" Sarah's pause before answering suggested the question touched on sensitive aspects of her assignment. "I'm here to determine whether your team can be trained to the required level, or whether specialists need to be integrated into your operation." The weight of her words settled over the team like a heavy blanket. Their professional pride, built over years of demanding training and successful missions, was being evaluated by someone who had demonstrated capabilities they couldn't match. Morrison made a command decision. What would training to your level require? Significant time commitment, specialized instruction, and willingness to unlearn some current techniques that limit precision. How significant? Months of dedicated practice, hours daily. It would require reducing time spent on other skills. Master Chief Rodriguez understood the dilemma immediately. Our mission timeline doesn't allow for months of retraining. Sarah nodded. Which brings us to the other option. The implications hung in the air without being explicitly stated. If the SEALs couldn't be trained to the required level in time, specialists would need to join their operation. Thompson studied Sarah with new respect. You're not just evaluating us, you're potentially joining us, if necessary. Morrison felt the day's events falling into place. What's your operational background? 7 years of mission support, different units, different requirements. I've worked with Rangers, Delta, and Marine Scout snipers on operations requiring precision beyond standard capabilities. Combat operations? Classified operations. The simple response carried weight that answered Johnson's question without revealing details. Sarah Martinez wasn't just a competitive shooter brought in for comparison. She was an experienced operative who specialized in exactly the kind of shooting their mission required. Master Chief Rodriguez posed the question everyone was thinking. If you join our team, how do we integrate a civilian into a SEAL operation? Temporarily contract status? I've done it before. Morrison considered the operational implications. Adding an unknown element to a carefully planned mission created complications, but the morning's demonstration proved that Sarah's capabilities exceeded anything his team could achieve in the available time frame. What do you recommend? He asked. Continue with your current training plan for team skills. Add specialized marksmanship training for whoever will be designated as primary shooter. Plan for me to handle any shots beyond 800 yards in challenging conditions. The solution was practical and acknowledged both the team's strengths and limitations. Morrison could maintain operational security while ensuring mission success through specialized capabilities. We'll meet again tomorrow, he decided. I need to discuss this with higher command and review mission parameters. As the team prepared to leave the range, their perspective on the upcoming operation had fundamentally changed. What had begun as a routine SEAL mission now required integration with capabilities they had never encountered. Sarah walked back to her vehicle, leaving behind a team of elite operators who were questioning their assumptions about training, skill, and what was possible with dedicated practice. The real test would come in the field, where conditions would be far more challenging than anything they had experienced on the range. 3 weeks later, Sarah found herself aboard a C-130 transport aircraft flying through darkness toward a target she had never seen. The cramped cabin vibrated with engine noise as SEAL Team 7 conducted final equipment checks and mission rehearsals. The integration that had seemed uncertain during their first meeting had evolved into professional respect and operational efficiency. Commander Morrison reviewed satellite imagery on a tablet, noting changes in target security since the mission planning began. Intelligence indicated that their objective, a terrorist leader responsible for multiple attacks on American assets, had moved to a fortified compound in the mountains of Afghanistan. Latest reconnaissance shows increased security, Morrison announced over the engine noise. Estimate 20 to 30 hostiles with military training and advanced weapons. The primary target appears only briefly in exterior locations, usually for less than 60 seconds. Master Chief Rodriguez studied the terrain maps spread across a makeshift table. Observation positions are limited due to the mountainous approach. Closest feasible shooting position is 1,400 yards from the compound. Lieutenant Thompson checked his weapon systems, ensuring everything was properly configured for the challenging shot distances they expected to encounter. Weather reports show variable winds due to mountain effects. Could complicate long-range shots significantly. Sarah sat quietly in the corner of the aircraft, her specialized rifle secured in its case beside her. She had spent the 3 weeks since her evaluation training with the team, learning their communication systems and operational procedures while helping them improve their marksmanship skills. The training period had been intensive and revealing. The SEALs had improved their shooting considerably under Sarah's instruction, but the time constraints and mission requirements confirmed that her specialized skills would be essential for success. Seaman Johnson, who had initially been the most skeptical about her presence, now acknowledged her abilities with grudging respect. "Ma'am, what's the maximum range you've successfully engaged targets under operational conditions?" 1,800 yards, Sarah replied. "Mountain environment, similar wind conditions to what we expect tonight." Johnson nodded, understanding that her experience extended far beyond their training exercises. During the integration period, he had learned that Sarah's resume included operations that remained classified years after their completion. The aircraft commander's voice crackled over the intercom. 30 minutes to insertion. Weather at the target area is clear with light winds." Morrison gathered his team for final briefing review. "Primary objective is capture or elimination of Khalid Nazir. Secondary objectives include intelligence gathering and neutralization of his security team. Sarah will establish overwatch position while the team approaches from the valley floor." The plan was straightforward but demanding. The SEAL team would infiltrate the compound perimeter, while Sarah provided precision fire support from a concealed position on the opposite mountainside. Her role was critical. Any security threats beyond the team's immediate capability to handle would need to be eliminated from extreme range. Sarah checked her equipment methodically. Her rifle remained the same Remington 700 that had impressed the SEALs weeks earlier. But modifications had been made based on mission requirements. Enhanced optics and specialized ammunition ensured optimal performance in the expected conditions. "How confident are you about shots at that range in mountain winds?" Rodriguez asked quietly. "Confident enough," Sarah replied, then added more detail than usual. "I've trained in similar terrain. Mountain winds are predictable if you understand the patterns." The aircraft began its descent toward the insertion point, engines throttling back as the pilot maneuvered through valleys invisible in the darkness below. Each team member conducted final preparations with the practiced efficiency of operators who had performed similar insertions dozens of times. 10 minutes out," announced the aircraft commander. Sarah secured her equipment and joined the team near the aircraft's rear door. The mission that had seemed abstract during planning was becoming immediate reality. In the darkness outside, hostile forces waited in positions they didn't know had been compromised. The aircraft touched down briefly on a flat section of valley floor, disgorging the team and their equipment before immediately lifting off. The sound of engines faded quickly, leaving 6 operators alone in enemy territory with only radio contact to the outside world. Morrison established communications with the command center, confirming insertion and beginning movement toward their objective. The team moved in tactical formation through terrain that challenged even their extensive training. Sarah separated from the main group after 2 miles, beginning her climb toward the overwatch position that would provide visual coverage of the target compound. Her route was longer and more demanding, requiring her to reach position while the SEALs were still approaching through the valley. The climb took 3 hours through rocky terrain that offered minimal concealment and numerous opportunities for missteps that could alert enemy sentries. Sarah moved with careful precision, using night vision equipment to navigate safely while carrying her rifle and specialized shooting gear. As dawn approached, she reached her designated position, a rocky outcropping that provided clear lines of sight to the compound while offering concealment from enemy observation. The shooting position was everything intelligence had predicted, challenging but feasible for someone with her capabilities. Sarah established her shooting position methodically, using equipment designed to provide stability for extreme-range precision shots. Her rifle rested on a specialized bipod system that minimized movement while allowing rapid target acquisition. Through her scope, The compound appeared exactly as satellite imagery had depicted. Stone walls surrounded several buildings, with guard posts visible at key positions. Early morning activity showed armed personnel maintaining security patrols and communication watches. "Overwatch in position," she reported quietly into her radio. "Good visual on target area. Count 12 visible hostiles, armed with AK variants and one sniper rifle." Morrison's voice crackled back through her earpiece. "Copy Overwatch. We're beginning final approach. Estimate 20 minutes to breach." Sarah began detailed observation of the compound, noting guard patterns and identifying priority targets that could threaten the team's mission. The enemy sniper position posed the greatest concern, elevated and well protected, with clear fields of fire covering the approaches Morrison's team would use. "Overwatch to team leader," she transmitted. "Enemy sniper position, northeast tower, approximately 1,300 yards from your route. Recommend elimination before breach." "Acknowledged," Morrison replied. "Can you take the shot?" Sarah studied the target through her scope, calculating wind effects and bullet trajectory. The distance was within her capability, but the shot would alert the compound to hostile presence. "Affirmative, but it initiates contact. Recommend timing with your assault." "Stand by for synchronized assault. Sniper elimination on my mark." Sarah settled behind her rifle, controlling her breathing and finding her natural point of aim. The enemy sniper was visible in his position, unaware that he was being observed from across the valley. Minutes passed as the SEAL team moved into final assault positions. Sarah monitored radio communications while maintaining target acquisition, ready to fire when ordered. "All elements in position," Morrison reported. "Overwatch, take the sniper. Assault commences in 30 seconds. Sarah made final adjustments for wind and range, then squeezed the trigger smoothly. The rifle's report echoed across the valley as the bullet flew toward its target 1,300 yards away. Through her scope, Sarah watched the enemy sniper collapse, eliminating the primary threat to the team's approach. The shot had been perfect, but it triggered immediate response from compound security. "Target down," she reported. "Multiple hostiles moving to defensive positions." The SEAL team breached the compound perimeter as enemy forces reacted to the sniper's elimination. Morrison led his team through predetermined routes, while Sarah provided overwatch and target identification. "Multiple contacts. South wall," Sarah transmitted, observing armed personnel moving to engage the SEALs. 3 hostiles with RPGs, range 1,400 yards. "Take them," Morrison ordered immediately. Sarah engaged the RPG team rapidly, placing 3 precise shots that neutralized the anti-armor threat before it could engage the assault team. Her shooting position allowed her to observe and engage targets that were invisible to the team members fighting within the compound. The battle intensified as more enemy personnel responded to the assault. Sarah found herself engaging targets across a range of distances and conditions, each shot requiring immediate calculation and precision execution. "Sniper in the main building," Rodriguez reported over radio. "He's got angle on our route to the primary target." Sarah located the new threat through her scope. An enemy marksman positioned in a second-story window with clear sight lines into the compound courtyard. The distance was nearly 1,500 yards, complicated by window glass and partial concealment. Her shot shattered the window and eliminated the threat in the same instant, allowing the SEAL team to continue their assault without exposing themselves to accurate enemy fire. "Target building secure," Morrison reported. "Primary objective located but mobile inside structure." Sarah maintained overwatch while the team conducted room-by-room clearance of the building containing their primary target. Through her scope, she could observe windows and doorways that might offer opportunities for target engagement. "Visual on primary target," she reported suddenly. "East side window, 2nd floor, brief exposure." The target appeared for less than 10 seconds, moving past a window that offered Sarah a narrow shooting opportunity. Khalid Nazir, the terrorist leader they had traveled thousands of miles to capture, was visible in her crosshairs at a range that exceeded anything the SEALs could attempt. "Take the shot," Morrison ordered without hesitation. Sarah's rifle cracked across the valley, sending a bullet through space that seemed impossible to cross accurately. 1,500 yards away, the target collapsed, ending a threat that had taken years to locate and reach. "Primary target down," Sarah confirmed. "Clean hit, no movement." The team confirmed the target's elimination while continuing to secure the compound and gather intelligence materials. Sarah maintained overwatch position, engaging additional targets as they appeared while the SEALs completed their mission objectives. 2 hours after the assault began, Morrison reported mission completion. "All objectives secure, intelligence materials recovered, ready for extraction." Sarah began packing her equipment while monitoring the team's withdrawal route. Her shooting position had allowed her to engage 11 separate targets during the operation, each shot placed accurately despite challenging conditions and extreme ranges. The extraction proceeded smoothly, with helicopter support arriving to remove the team and their recovered intelligence. As they lifted off from the valley floor, Sarah reflected on an operation that had validated months of training and preparation. Back aboard the helicopter, Master Chief Rodriguez approached Sarah as she secured her rifle. 11 targets, ranges from 800 to 1,500 yards, no missed shots. That's the most impressive shooting I've ever witnessed under operational conditions." Sarah nodded acknowledgement but didn't elaborate on her performance. For her, the successful mission was simply the result of preparation meeting opportunity. Lieutenant Thompson studied the mission summary on his tablet. "Primary target eliminated at 1,500 yards through a window. That's a shot maybe 10 people in the world could make." "Maybe fewer than that," Johnson added, his earlier skepticism replaced by genuine admiration. Commander Morrison joined the conversation as the helicopter flew toward their extraction point. "Sarah, your performance today was exceptional. The mission wouldn't have succeeded without your capabilities." "The team did excellent work," Sarah replied. "I just provided support from a distance." Rodriguez laughed quietly. "Support from a distance. That's one way to describe the most accurate combat shooting any of us have ever seen." As the helicopter carried them back to friendly territory, the SEAL team processed an operation that had redefined their understanding of what was possible in precision marksmanship. Sarah Martinez had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded anything they had encountered in their careers. The woman who had faced skepticism and dismissive comments just weeks earlier had proven herself under the most demanding conditions imaginable. Her quiet competence and extraordinary skill had made the difference between mission success and potential failure. Morrison realized that future operations would likely require similar specialist integration, and he hoped that Sarah would be available when those capabilities were needed again. The Pentagon's decision to test his team against her abilities had revealed limitations they hadn't known existed, but it had also shown them what dedication and specialized training could achieve. For Sarah, the mission was another successful operation in a career built on precision and reliability. She had done exactly what she was trained to do, proving once again that accuracy and preparation could overcome any challenge, no matter how impossible it might appear to others. The helicopter disappeared into the morning sky, carrying a team that had learned valuable lessons about excellence, specialization, and the difference between meeting standards and exceeding them. Sarah Martinez had shown them all what was possible when talent met dedication and training met opportunity.